Sure, we all want to solve our procrastination. We are currently looking on YouTube right now for a solution so we can actually work on the projects that we want to work on, right? We are totally not procrastinating right now, right? It's our response to negative emotions like stress and fear that make us procrastinate. We know that this is not what we want, but where do we start and how do we solve it? Interestingly is that there's not just one form of procrastination. We all procrastinate in different ways. And behind all of these surface level forms of procrastination, there is a deeper reason why we are actually procrastinating. Now, like most problems, being aware of the problem is the first step of improving it. Then you are already doing great. And if we know what forms of procrastination we display, we can implement specific methods that can help us. So let's explore 5 types of procrastination together. After that, I also have some tips for each type of procrastinator. The first one I call the paralyzed perfectionists. It starts with a thought. Everything needs to be perfect before I can start working on this task. And it leads to me spending hours analyzing and overthinking every single detail, which then lead to me feeling overwhelmed and unable to make any decision. Paralyzed perfectionists easily go down a rabbit hole of what might and might not happen. What is the root cause of the paralyzed perfectionist behavior? It is quite straightforward. Their perfectionism is getting in the way of them starting on their task. And even when they understand that their perfectionism is getting in their way, they struggle to let go of the need for everything to be perfect. It's a very common struggle. It can be that they are too afraid to fail or to not do a task according to their ideals, and their fear paralyzes them. But there are solutions for this. The second type is very common, and I call them dopamine pursuers. Checking your phone every 10 minutes during your work sessions, deciding to hit the snooze button instead of getting up, skipping exercise to watch Netflix, ordering takeout instead of making dinner, and staying up late instead of getting a good night's sleep. We've all been there. I certainly classify myself as a dopamine pursuer. Instead of doing the task, we are way more impulsive than other people and easily give in to immediate gratification in quick dopamine. The root cause of the dopamine pursuer's behavior? Well, the long task is boring. It takes way too long. This is not the quick dopamine we crave for. We don't have any interest in delayed rewards. We want them now. I call the third type of procrastinator 11-hourers. Hey, I've got this report I have to hand in next month. Alright, awesome. Let me think about that when the time comes.
2 weeks later.
Nope, not this time.
1 week later.
The report? Nah, not now.
1 week later.
No, the report is due tomorrow. I completely forgot. Not really though. I just postponed it. Lol. Why do I always wait until the last second until I cannot wait anymore? What's wrong with me? The root cause of the 11-hours behavior? Being an 11-hour means that we want to avoid the stressful thoughts and negative feelings when we think about working on something difficult or a dreaded task. These negative feelings can arrive in anxiety, self-doubt, boredom. So it is useful to have a go-to strategy when these feelings show up. The next type is the lost soul searcher. Going through life with no clear direction or purpose, feeling like going through the same motions every day, feeling lost. Even the larger life goals we set for ourselves don't seem to matter. We procrastinate working on them anyway. It's okay, it's going to be alright. The root cause of the lost soul searcher's behavior? Well, it's because lost soul searchers haven't really thought about their ideal future, mostly having done things that their parents or society wanted them to do. They are kind of disconnected with their future self. And because of this disconnect, they can set unrealistic goals. And their motivation to work on these goals is very low, which makes them procrastinate. Why be disciplined for tasks that don't align with your true self anyways, right? Lastly, we have the project postponers. This is Sarah, who is a marketing manager and a project postponer. She always puts off small 5-minute tasks until later and tells herself that she will do them later when she has more time. What happens is that her to-do list becomes longer and longer and she feels overwhelmed by the amount of work she needs to do. And despite realizing that procrastinating only makes the problem worse, she can't seem to break the cycle. The root cause of the project postponer's behavior? This is a clear case of lacking structure throughout the day. Not planning how your next day will go before you go to bed and just freestyling the morning, afternoon and evening. Project postponers think they can probably fit in these small tasks somewhere during the day, but that time never seems to come. Now that we can identify with one or several of these types, we would like to figure out a way to improve it, right? Well, like I said, the first step is being aware of it. Then you're already doing awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some useful tips for each type of procrastinator. The first thing to remember when you are in a situation where you are procrastinating is to acknowledge that you are doing it again. Try to use your self-awareness. And after you are aware, like oh, I am behaving like a paralyzed analyzer again, you need specific tips and tricks you can implement, depending on which type of procrastinator you are. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Alright, so you are a paralyzed analyzer. Before you spend hours in overthinking every single detail, try and set a timer for yourself to make a decision. This can help you take action faster. It could be a 3-minute timer or a deadline of a few days. It really depends on the type of task or project. This will force you to focus on the most important factors, which is the work itself, and prevent analysis paralysis. This paralysis can also occur in smaller day-to-day tasks. In my experience, and research supports this, is that counting down from 5 to 0 can really help to just initiate the action. It sounds very simple, and it is. You are interrupting the habit of going down the rabbit hole that is happening here at the right side of the brain, and are activating a different part of the brain that is connected to counting. You also need to keep reminding yourself that perfection does not exist, and then taking imperfect action is better than taking no action at all. It is completely okay to make mistakes and fail. Remember that. Cool. Next, how to improve procrastination when you are a dopamine pursuer. How can we engage in long tasks and win the battle with immediate gratification?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
It really helps me to break down a big task into smaller, more manageable tasks. When you're going to work on these smaller, more manageable tasks, one technique that you've probably heard of and can be super useful is the Pomodoro technique. This technique can especially help you if the work is something you don't really like doing. Break up your work sessions into 25-minute intervals, followed by a short 5-minute break. During the 25-minute intervals, you really focus on working on the smaller tasks without any distractions. Also, remove the phone from your work area. This is only a naughty trigger. You can look forward to your little shot of dopamine when the timer rings. For the timer, use a timer on Google. And when we've worked for several Pomodoro rounds, we take a longer break. You can go for a walk, eat your lunch, or take a longer chill session, whatever you want. And another tip that really helps me is to do these tasks as soon as you wake up. Don't wait for the evening. Your focus and motivation is the highest when you wake up. And when you start your day by completing a small task, it can give a sense of accomplishment and momentum to tackle larger tasks. For 11 hours, it is also very useful to break down a big task into smaller, more manageable tasks. These smaller tasks do need to have specific deadlines. You can call them checkpoints or milestones. Otherwise, you will wait and wait and wait and wait without a sense of real accountability. This will help you make progress on a task over time and reduce the pressure of completing it all at once. And to make sure you really follow up on these deadlines, it can help to have an accountability partner. A friend where you have a weekly check-in that holds you accountable for making progress on a task. Maybe you can even work together. But what is most important for the 11 hours is to identify and address the underlying negative thoughts that you're feeling. You can't always run from your problems, and life will continue to trigger you. It's better to address it ASAP. So, you are a lost soul searcher. You don't really follow through on the big goals you set for yourself. Well, first things first, it can really help to take some time to reflect on your values, your personal interests, and your passions. What do you want to achieve in the short term and long term? If you could do anything, how would your ideal life look like? If you have no clue where to start, you can ask yourself, what is it that I love doing? What skills am I good at or like to be good at? What do I need to change about my present? Try out a new hobby.
Let's go golfing! God dang!
Maybe something will spark that fire in you. We don't know what's out there until we explore and try it. Now, for the project postponers, since lacking structure throughout the day is the biggest root cause of your procrastination, I would highly advise structuring your day the night before. It doesn't have to take long at all. You can also just write down the sequence of events and just leave out the starting times, so it doesn't stress you out. By including planning your day the night before in your evening routine, it will give you much more clarity, and it will set you up for the next day. These were my specific tips and tricks. Please feel free to play around and see what works best for you. Hopefully you learned something new about yourself and are motivated to improve the bad habit of procrastination. If you're trying out any of these tips and it's not working out immediately, that's okay. Keep trying, you're doing fantastic. Feed the mind, the body and the soul, as one cannot function without the other. Until next video, much love.